I'm Vinny Politan. Thanks so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. What happened? What happened in Missouri? Yeah, the jury said the word guilty, but this was nothing but a huge win today for Lynlee Renick. Unbelievable. Let me show you, I'll show you the verdict, and then in Missouri, the jury gets to decide what the punishment for that crime will be as well with their recommendation to the judge. So let's listen to the verdict, listen to the recommendation, and then you'll listen to me for a little bit.
Okay, this is verdict. As to count one, we, the jury, find the defendant, Lynlee Renick, guilty of murder in the second degree as submitted in instruction number 9, and that's signed by your foreperson. And verdict as to count two, we, the jury, find the defendant, Lynlee Renick, guilty of armed criminal action as submitted in number 16, and that's signed by your foreperson. Are these your verdicts, and so say each of you? Okay. Either side want this jury polled? Okay. Senator, please rise. Verdict as to count one, we, the jury, having found the defendant, Lynlee Renick, guilty of murder in the second degree, assess and declare punishment for murder in the second degree at 13 years. Verdict as to count two, we, the jury, having found the defendant, Lynlee Renick, guilty of armed criminal action, assess and declare the punishment for armed criminal action at 3 years. And that's signed by your foreperson. Is this your verdict, and so say each of you? Are these your verdicts, and so say each of you? Okay.
That's all it is. That's all it is. It's a slap on the wrist for taking the life of your husband, the father of your child. Unbelievable development in this case. Unexpected. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I've been shocked before. Absolutely. Robert Durst's first trial down in Texas, right? That other thing that happened down in Orange County, Florida. This is right up there with them, folks. The word guilty was said, but this is a huge win. Think about this case for just 1 second. And this is what I would ask the jurors if they come on the show, if they ever want to come on and talk about it. And I'm not angry, I'm not mad. They did their jobs. They deliberated for quite some time for such a short case. But if you took Lynlee Renick out of this situation, would Ben Renick be alive? Think about it for a second. Of course he would be. Of course he would be. She surrounded herself with the Humphrey guy and the woman from the spa. Yeah, they were not great witnesses, not great people. But they're all part of her world. She brought them into her world. If you take her out of the equation, Ben Renick is alive. He's alive. And they found basically this is a case where, no, there was no premeditation, no deliberation time before the murder took place. Unbelievable. That's all it is. Let me bring in Court TV Senior Director of Courtroom Coverage, Grace Wong, who's been in the courtroom throughout this trial, joining us by phone tonight from Columbia, Missouri. Grace, thanks so much for joining us today. Am I getting this wrong? She was facing the rest of her life in prison for the first-degree murder, and now she'll potentially get out how quickly?
She will probably do about 11 and a half years before she gets out. In Missouri, having been convicted of second-degree murder makes her eligible for an 85% term. She serves 85% of her sentence and then is able to be released. So it is definitely a blow for the family of Ben Renick, who is Sam and a very close family friend, Babette Tucker. She was the only person that spoke to us after the verdict, and she was in tears. It was very clear that this was a disappointment. And I mean, it didn't feel right when it was second degree, but they were willing to accept a guilty verdict on murder. But certainly with such a lenient sentence from the jury, it is a bitter pill that they're going to have to swallow, especially for Sam having suffered the sting of betrayal in so many ways. First, losing his brother. Secondly, keeping this a secret for years. And then during that time, she's throwing police off the scent of Michael Humphrey and pointing the finger at her brother-in-law. I mean, just one slap in the face after another. So this, and then after Ben's death, selling the family farm and while he was still living on it, and not giving him a chance to have any kind of relationship with his niece, and not really giving him a chance to mourn his brother before pushing him off the property. So all of that has been the burden that he's had since Ben's death. And this is certainly very, very disappointing for him.
No, it's awful. It is absolutely awful. I mean, they said the words guilty, but it is a very hollow guilty in the way this jury handed all of this down tonight. Grace, let me ask you about that jury. What did you see about this jury when the verdict was delivered, and anything from them, and any other reactions tonight?
Well, certainly this jury was attentive, even though I didn't observe any of them taking notes of any kind. And they were an older group of jurors. A lot of them looked very much like Lynlee's parents, about that age group. And I think what really seemed to resonate with them was the appeal by her sister that her children, Maddie and Emilia, do love her and do look forward to spending time with her during the weekends. Her sister is their guardian, and she will remain their guardian while she goes to prison. And she says that they do love their mother. And I think that the idea that these children have lost so much by losing one parent and are about to lose another, obviously that was an argument, that was an appeal that did resonate with these jurors. And then I think secondly, the idea that this is an argument raised by the defense attorney, Catherine Berger, is that those other co-conspirators, you had Michael Humphrey, Ashley Shaw, and Rachel Hunt. All three of them were very active in the plot to kill Ben. Michael Humphrey provided the gun. He, of course, was convicted of first-degree murder, and because he made a deal with the state, his sentence has been knocked down. And then the other two co-conspirators, Rachel Hunt and Ashley Shaw, got sweet deals. They will not serve a second in prison. And Ashley Shaw was admittedly a very active co-conspirator. She helped Lynlee make an attempt on her husband's life previously. When the poisoning didn't work, they had conspired initially to poison Ben, and Ashley had researched on the web how much of a drug would kill a person. That's the extent of her participation, which is I think very extensive if you look at it. I mean, she actively researched what it would take to kill somebody with drugs. She acquired the drugs. If you believe her, she acquired the drugs for Lynlee, and Lynlee ground it up and put it in one of his drinks, and he became violently ill. So that is the extent of her participation. And then she helped her clean up after the murder. She showered her so there would be no gunshot residue. She cleaned up, and she covered up for her, and then sent emails and texts to Ben when he was supposedly dead by then, so that it would look like she had an alibi. So this is a very active co-conspirator, and she will not serve a day in prison. So I
understand that, but at the end of the day, though, again, if you take Lynlee Renick out of the mix of all these people, is Ben Renick alive tonight?
Well, probably.
Yeah, of course he is. Of course he is. And the jury, This is like looking at a case and saying, well, I just hired the hitman, I didn't actually do it, right? And if the jury's thinking that somehow Humphrey fired the weapon and that makes him more culpable and she's less culpable, that's to me, that's absurd. It comes back to a very basic concept in the law. The old but-for, Grace Wong. The but-for test, but for Lynlee, Ben is alive tonight. You take any one of those other people out of the equation, and guess what? Ben could still be dead. He could still be dead. You take any one of the other people out of the equation, she would have figured out another way. And that's the part that is so mind-boggling tonight. But we are where we are. Anything else we should know about in terms of what happened at the courthouse today, Grace?
Well, I think her initial reaction was certainly very dramatic in the courtroom, which we weren't able to see from our cameras because the judge had left the bench. But after the verdict was rendered, she was crying and sobbing so loudly you could hear her wailing throughout the courtroom. So she did initially, I think, even though she is getting a relatively lenient sentence, was very disappointed with the verdict, and I think her family was. But I think they're also relieved that she's not serving life in prison and that she will have a life after she serves her sentence. She's only 33 years old. She will serve 11 and a half years. She gets out, she'll be in her early 40s, so she will have a life when she gets out of prison.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's young. That's young for a convicted murderer to be walking around. Grace Wong at the courthouse, thank you so much. Let's get some reaction from our think tank tonight. Joining us in the Bronx, New York, criminal defense attorney Renee Hill. In Houston, Texas, criminal defense attorney Carmen Rowe. And in Atlanta, Georgia, criminal defense attorney, law professor at Emory University and Georgia Innocence Project board member Molly Parmer. Great to see everyone tonight. Let me just show you one more thing in case anyone's like, Lynlee is disappointed with the verdict and Lynlee's really innocent and she didn't want him dead. Take a look at what she mouthed to the after the sentence here to the jury. She's mouthing some words here. Do we see it? Wait for it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you are 100% innocent, Renee Hill, you are not saying thank you to 12 strangers who just called you a murderer. Come on. She's saying thank you for, oh my goodness, looking the other way and you know, slapping my wrist.
That's not true, Vinny. She knows that this jury took their time in their deliberations, and then they had to decide her fate. And they came back and they gave her a sentence that they believed was suitable for her participation in this crime. So she was saying thank you to them.
What was her participation in the crime, Renee? What was her participation in the crime? Come on.
You know what? The jurors absolutely found that she wasn't the shooter, or at least they couldn't be satisfied with themselves to say that she was the actual shooter, or they would have convicted her of the murder in the first degree.
Why were her and Michael?
So
why did she bring Michael Humphrey, the ex-con, ex-lover, to the meeting? Carmen Rowe, come on. Why is she bringing the ex-con, ex-lover on the day that she is supposedly going to tell Ben that I'm leaving you? Oh yeah, I sent you the nude picture in the morning, but now that was to butter you up. But now I'm going to tell you that I'm leaving you, but I had to bring my ex-con, ex-lover with me.
Vinny, the whole thing's crazy. I'll tell you, I watched this trial and I was like, crocodile tears, nobody's buying this. I was as surprised as you were when the verdict came out that they didn't take her on the top count, which basically was one of cool reflection murder rather than the intentional killing of another person. So they found her guilty of intentionally killing her husband. But then they come back with this small sentence. So, you know, young, blonde, cute girls on trial. I mean, there's a benefit there. And these jurors clearly bought into what I perceive to be crocodile tears and this narrative that she put out there that she was a victim.
Unbelievable. By the way, she'll be out early 40s. Guys, if you're on the dating apps, take a look at her face now so you remember it a decade from now, and make sure you go to the left, not to the right. Molly, your reaction tonight?
You know, Vinny, I have kind of mixed feelings here because, like Carmen's pointed out, you know, I wonder how much of this can be attributed to how she looks. And if somebody didn't look like her, would the jury have that empathy and that mercy? And, you know, I want juries to have empathy and mercy. And I like the idea of juries deliberating over a sentence. We don't have that in my state. Murder, we don't even have degrees. If you're convicted of murder or felony murder, malice murder, it's life, no question. And so I like this idea.
Do you like the idea of murderers getting out in their early 40s?
I like the idea of rehabilitation and a system that's not just focused on punitive punishment with no hope for like her children. However, Vinny, if you want to be so upset about this slap on the wrist that you keep doing, you need to apportion some of your vitriol to the prosecutor that let Ashley Shaw walk. That's a slap on the wrist too, and that's prosecutorial discretion. So make sure you save some of your anger for the state too, Vinny.
No, I'm not, because you take the spa ladies out of the equation. Ben Renick's still dead. You take Michael Humphrey out of the equation. He's still dead. She was going to figure out a way to kill him. She tried to kill him first with the poison. It wasn't the first attempt. It was the second attempt. All right, let's take a listen. Let's take a listen to a little reaction from a family friend who was with the defense team afterwards.
This all in, and then we're going to decide what to do next, but we're going to need a couple of days before we can say any comments about the case. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was actually the defense team. I thought it was someone associated with them. Okay, so this is a victory, right? In the defense world, this is an absolute victory. Correct? Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
I want people to understand that, because they're going to say, oh, she was found guilty. Yeah, she was found guilty, but she murdered her husband, and she'll be out in her early 40s. Early 40s were some good years, some really good years. I mean, this is scary. Now, here's the other question. Renee Hill, should she really be, when she gets out in 10 years, be raising the child whose father she murdered? Should she be having contact with the child of the father she murdered? Should she be coming to visit? I know she loves her mother. Children love their parents unconditionally. But really? Should that? I mean, she's a convicted murderer.
You know what? In instances like this, that's where the family court will be involved. It's going to depend on the age of the children once she comes home, whether or not there needs to be some supervised visitation, or whether they are old enough at that time to determine what kind of contact they want to have with her.
How about a restraining order
But
instead
she's
of the
still a parent
supervised
at the end
visitation?
of the day. Vinny, at the end of the day, she's still a parent to the child or those children. And if they want to see their mother and are old enough to make that decision, they should be able to do so. And if they aren't old enough at that time, then the family court is going to step in, and they're going to determine whether or not she's entitled to supervised visits or not. She's not.
She's
her
getting out so
custody rights
quick.
are
I
not being taken away
don't think the
from
child's
her.
going to be an adult. I think the child's still going to be a minor when she gets out. This is unreal. This is unreal. Unbelievable developments tonight in this case. All right.